Number 5. Rangine and Papa Tuanuku, or Rangi and Papa for short. They were the primordial parents from the Maori mythology, where Rangi was the Sky Father and Papa the Earth Mother. They were so in love with each other, they were always in a tight embrace. This embrace was the reason why there was only darkness at the time, as the sky and earth was technically mashed with each other, causing no light to pass through. Papa and Rangi had many children. Most of them became the main gods in the Polynesian mythology. To name a few, there's Tahiry, Tane, Tumatawenga, Rongo, Tangaroa, and Haumia. So, after some time, their children, sick of the darkness, sick of feeling cramped with nothing to do, and probably sick with how their parents were always clinging to each other, decided to do something about it. Well, except for Tahiry, who just wanted their parents to be happy. Now, the rest of the children were discussing on how to get out of the darkness. At first, Tumatawenga proposes that they should just kill the parents, which of course was too drastic. So, Tane, who was the most against the killing, suggested to just separate them instead. One by one, they tried to separate their parents but failed, as their embrace was crazy tight. Then Tane tried last, and with all his might, he had to crawl in between them and pry them apart with his whole body. Of course, Papa and Rangi were very angry and sad because of this, as who knows how hard it was for them to even be together in the first place, that just by being forcefully separated like this, they couldn't get back together. Anyways, with them apart, light came into the world, and everyone lived exactly how they wanted. Except for Papa and Rangi being separated, and Tahiry, who was very mad that their parents were not happy. Number 4. Lono. Lono is one of those cool gods that surf, uses the rainbow as a means of travel, married a mortal, and brought all the goods for agriculture, fertilized soil, and rain for the people. Lono is also the god of peace, but there is one story tainted or even marked as the beginning of this title. It was all because of an incident with his mortal wife called Kaikilani. Kaikilani was the most beautiful woman of her time, especially for Lono, that he gets jealous, very jealous, like he could kill jealous. And he actually did. One day, his jealousy was overwhelming. He accidentally used his godly power and struck his wife down. Mourning her and wandering the island, he made the Makahiki celebration, where during those times a lot of things are prohibited, which includes the decree of no wars, no fighting, and no killing, especially during it. Though to some, the Makahiki is a festival in honor of Lono and a time to show appreciation to the gods for their abundance in harvest. Number 3. Pili. She is one of the best-known deity from Hawaii, and she is said to live in the crater of the volcano Kilauea. She is the goddess of the volcano, or the goddess of fire. She can create and she can destroy, seeing as how she has power over lava and fire. Something like lava in its molten state destroys things in its path, and when it cools down, it makes new land. She is said to have a temper, but she still has a certain kindness to her, so getting on her good side is always a good thing. Throughout her presence, she never wanted any living sacrifices, just respect, and some food is apparently enough. Originally, she didn't come from Hawaii, but instead came from Kahiki, which means out of sight, which people think is Tahiti, but it could practically mean anywhere else. The reason as to why she moved varies from story to story, but one of her stories as to why she's in Hawaii goes like this. Pele was a goddess that was supposed to become a water goddess as instructed by her mother, but as she grew up, her fascination with fire overwhelmed her. Being headstrong and having a bit of a temper, she became rebellious. She ignored everything and played with the fires from the underworld, accidentally setting her home in Kahiki, or Tahiti, on fire. Then her sister Namaka, the sea goddess, used her power to quench the fire and ended up flooding the place. Pele was then forced to leave her home, and she settled in Kilauea, surrounded by fire that she loves. There are a lot of stories of Pele around, legends of her greatness and wrath. The newest one is the belief that she would curse people who takes any natural sources out of Hawaii, as talked in my Curses from Around the World video. Number 2. Milu. Milu is the ruler of the land of the dead, or the underworld in many Polynesian mythology. Milu's gender is pretty much unspecified, as some stories says Milu is female while others male. Anyways, in Hawaiian folklore, there's a few different stories of him. One said he was a chief that was banished to the underworld because of disobeying the gods and ended up overtaking the underworld, while the other said he's Pili's brother and is the lord of the spirit world. In Maori folklore, she is one of the goddess of the underworld who likes to capture souls with nets and later dragging them to her abode. In Mangayan mythology, she is an ugly old woman who eats spirits of those that ends up in the underworld by cooking them in an oven. And in Mangarevan folklore, Milu is a god of unknown gender of the night world. I guess we could just assume that Milu takes care of the dead, either by eating them or ruling over them. Number 1. Maui. The most popular of the gods, as his legend can be found everywhere in the Polynesian Islands. Though it varies from region to region, with some regarding him as a demigod, some as a full god, while some as human, but the base of event of his story seems to be consistent. So, he is technically the one that created the Pacific Islands, the ensnarer of the sun, the sky pusher, and even the discoverer of fire. Now, because there are so many versions of the legends concerning Maui, for this video, I will take one of his popular story that involves him and the sun's speed, taken from the Maori folktale. A long time ago, it was said that the time the sun was up was very short. Night after night, people were complaining and discussing about this problem. The problem of not having enough time in the mornings to do their daily duties, such as hunting, or fishing, or even farming. Maui heard of this problem from his brothers, and one day he said he could actually solve it. Of course, his brothers were like, "What is this madness?" but still gave him a chance, and Maui explained that he will need a lot of flax. I imagine him having a cheeky grin on his face when he said that, with the sun slowly rising up, or should I say, quickly rising up, shining in his face. So, they asked the woman of the tribe to cut and gather as much flax as they can, so that they could make a large and strong enough net to capture the sun. Why flax, you might be thinking? It's probably because flax is a fire retardant, so it burns very slowly. Then when the net was completed, Maui, together with his brother and some other men from the tribe, went on a journey east. Well, east, to where the sun's resting place is. You know, right before it rises. After a very long journey, they found the cave where the sun rests and quickly started to cover the entrance with the net they plaited and made sure it's not easily seen. Then they hid behind some clay walls they made to protect themselves from the scorching heat the sun would produce when it wakes up. Not soon after, a glimmer of light came from the cave. The sun was rising. The heat from the sun seemed to get stronger and stronger. The men there were losing hope as it got hotter and hotter. But then they heard Maui shouting, "Pull! Pull the ropes as hard as you can! Pull!" And so they did, all while thinking that if they can't stop the sun now, they're all dead. So with all their might, they pulled as hard as they can to stop the sun from escaping. This is when Maui proceeded to the next step of the plan. He ran out of the protection of the dried wall, had his special axe raised high above his head, and rushed straight towards the sun. Of course, he's practically burnt by now, but he went and attacked the sun with his axe. The sun screamed, "Don't kill me, you The sun was very angry, being hot-headed and all. Then Maui reassured the sun that he wasn't trying to kill, but was there to persuade the sun from going across the sky too quickly. Feeling bitter, the sun was like, "Tch, with this kind of finger, it's not like I could go fast anyways." So Maui had to ask again and again, until finally the sun promised to go slow. That's when they released the net and let the sun free. Since then, the sun stayed in the sky longer, moving slowly in the sky.